we have a guy who has won a cup race coming on here. He has also been referred to as a colonel at times. He's been in a bar fight on the front stretch of a racetrack in Canada. That very person he fought, he had to fight for a championship in 2023. None other than Stone Cold Cole Custer, the 2023 Xfinity Series Champion on the Money Lap Live. Kicked my ass. Congratulations, buddy. Really well done.
Oh, yeah. Round of applause.
Oh, we got the issue again. Can you reset your I think you're muted.
He is muted. We got to make sure he gets unmuted here.
This is going to be a trend here. With the
you got me there.
There you are.
Yeah, there we are.
All right.
No, thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, you're a champ. What is a week and a half that you've been a champion felt like? Is anything different? Have you woken up and just been doused in champagne every morning and the rivers flow of gold? What's the situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy, like it's something that you dream of since you've been a little kid, so being a part of something like that, that's just truly surreal is pretty crazy. And it's just something you try and take in every moment, like it's so crazy every single time you take a step back. So it's just cool to be a part of.
I love it, man. That is cool. I got to ask you, although I love your dog in the background, whoever that is. Hey, dog.
She's going crazy. I hate it.
What has been, when you went into that Phoenix race, what did you think your chances were of being able to win this championship? Being in the championship, having those three competitors you had?
I knew we were going to have a good shot at it just because in the playoffs we had really just stepped up our cars and we were getting better and better and better throughout the year. But it was just always in the back of your mind, you knew that's Gibbs's place. That's where they've just been so good for so many years. Won the championship there, I think, a few times now in the Xfinity Series, and it's just you kind of had that in the back of your mind. You're like, I'm going to do everything I can, but you almost feel like you had the card stacked against you a little bit, But when we unloaded on, I guess it would have been Friday, I knew we had something for them. I mean, that was definitely the best car I've ever had at Phoenix. And it took a lot to get there, I mean, it took a lot of trying to look at past notes and everything that we've looked at through this year to get our cars better. And it was just they brought a bolt to the racetrack, though. It was pretty unreal that first lap.
It made me think of something, Cole, that, by the way, long time no see. I hope you missed me this. Well, I
know we missed you in the series this
year. I know. I missed you guys too. So, your teammate Riley had a hell of a tear those couple weeks in the playoffs, at Vegas and Homestead running really well. Was there something that they hit on or anything there that contributed to your success as a team? I mean, or was it just, did everything coming out of your shop peak at the right time?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely peaked at the right time. But when you look at that, what they did at Vegas was the biggest thing. We were able to take some of those notes and be able to try and apply that to our cars. And we went to Homestead and we led a lot of laps until I hit the fence. But it was definitely, those guys, without the two teams and having both notes, I mean, it was a huge gain. I think how our two teams work together is second to none, I feel like. A lot of times in teams you have some egos and you have people who don't want to work together. But I feel like our two teams work really well and we're able to bounce ideas off each other. And without that, I don't think we'd have this championship. So with what Riley and Davin and those guys did was definitely a huge part of it.
And I think that's a key point to something I wanted to dive into, which is just to take a step back in the season. Landon alluded to it. You guys really found speed in the playoffs. But I can think back to Las Vegas in the spring. I think I passed you on a long run for 13th at one point in the race. And I remember thinking, like, how the hell am I passing that car? I mean, you guys just weren't there, right? And it was like the springtime. Where did it start for you guys to click and sort of turn this around? And I know, we can dive into this a little bit more later in this time, but like coming back from the Cup Series into the Xfinity Series, where did it start to click? And was some of it yourself just learning these, getting back with these cars, or did you guys start to find things in those cars? And if you want to give me a secret, that'd be fine. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like we started off the year and we went to Fontana and we had a really good shot to win that race. So I was confident. Like, I didn't feel like I was having to relearn the cars. Like, I felt like I was pretty comfortable with what was going on. But then we went to Vegas and it was like, wow, we are in trouble. This is not what I expected. We were barely running 15th, and it was just one of those things.
Oh no!
So it was really tough because
There he is.
I'm back.
Sorry, we cut out for a second.
It was really tough. It was.
Oh no!
He might be taking a call right now.
Calling me.
Someone calling you?
Yeah, my wife's calling me.
Oh, how late.
But
jeez.
But it was just tough because we had these notes from when I ran the Xfinity Series 4 years ago. And it's like, we look at those and it's like, can we run setups that were from 4 years ago? You know, like, is that still going to work? So that was what was really tough at the start of the year, of figuring out what we needed to bring to the racetrack, whether it was 4 years ago or was it what the 98's been running recently, or do we need something completely different because the package changed a little bit for Xfinity this year. So it was just trying to figure out what we really needed in the cars. And about Richmond or so is where it really turned around and we were able to get some solid.
Hi,
I'm sorry,
hi to his
guys.
wife. No.
Yeah, we're Custer. We can give him a second if you want to send her a text message or whatever it is you want to do. No worries.
Tell her you're busy right
I did
now.
have some. I did have a thought that, you know, and you guys are kind of going down that path, that I'd felt like I didn't give you enough credit throughout the season, and I felt like, you know, you were a sleeper for the championship and obviously won the championship. It was like a very quiet championship, you know, and it was kind of a gradually then suddenly type thing, for at least from my perspective. And I don't know if you felt the same thing. And even comparing that to your, you know, the last time you were in the Xfinity Series, you won 10 races in 1 year, I think, or 8 or 9 races. And now, you know, this year I felt like it was a lot quieter leading into the championship. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, there he is.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly that was a good thing for me, because going back to the Xfinity Series, everybody had these expectations that we were going to win like 15 races and it was going to be easy.
Right.
And it was anything but that, you know, like it was tough. I mean, like me and Parker just grinding it out for 13th, you know, at the start of the year, you know, it was racing our tails off. Like it was tough. And I think it made me learn how to work with my team to solve problems, you know, like how do we work together to get our cars better, so we can go compete for wins. And I think it's just knowing the full scope of what you have going on with the car and the situation, and just knowing how we can work as a team to make it better. And I think that's what was a definitely proud part of our our year, was just being able to really work as a team to get it all better.
So I gotta tell you a funny story. Speaking of like you guys turning it around. So Portland earlier this year, obviously, I went in practice. I was 0.3 faster in the field. Then we blew a gearbox in qualifying. I had to come through the field. I get there towards the end. I make a late move on Justin Allgaier. You are able to slip into the lead off of my move into turn one. Whatever you feel like, good or bad move, it allows you to go on and win that race. Was this the turning point? And I don't know if you've ever said thank you. So,
yeah, hold on. Give him an opportunity. Yeah. Are you going to give him an opportunity to thank you right now?
Yeah, you can say thank you.
I do need to say thank you for that one. Yes.
You're welcome. So the other part of that was, well, hold on. So then Justin Allgaier comes up to me and some other people, and they're like, there you go. You just let him win the championship forever. And when you went and won it, I was like, I guess I can see the future.
Yeah, but no, honestly, I knew what was going to happen that restart in Portland, because I did it the restart before. You know, because I missed the chicane the restart before. So I was like, when I saw you drive it in there 3 wide, I was like, I've done this. I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, you saw. Wait, be honest. When I started braking, were you like, yeah, that's way too late?
Yeah, I was like, "There's no way he's not gonna make it." If you made it, I would have been very love to be shocked right there.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
Hey, one question I have for you, Cole. So I love the technical aspect of what we do. From the driver stuff and the driver preparation and the simulation and our involvement in it, also just the things that we aren't involved in, the build of the cars and the engineering and stuff like that. But as drivers and involved drivers, and you've been around racing for a long time, I know that you're really well versed in everything that goes on in the sport. I'd love to hear your perspective on how different the Xfinity series and the operations of your Xfinity team are compared to where it was the last time you were in Xfinity running full time. Because obviously technology has changed, even though it's only been a couple of years, technology has changed, the tools have changed. But you race for the same team twice. But with this hiatus, I'm curious of what was different between the two eras of Xfinity for you.
Yeah, honestly, not too much. The chassis are very similar. The bodies are very similar. So everything is very similar to what it used to be. The only difference is we had the SKU change going into this year, so we had to kind of adjust for that a little bit. But that turned out not to be a huge deal. It seemed like. So overall, I mean, the amount of engineers we had. I think the biggest thing is just when I raced Xfinity last time, we had practice. So we had more people at the racetrack. You were throwing more things at it. So there were less people at the track this year than what I was the last time I drove.
Mhm.
But really, I mean, the Xfinity Series has been one of those series it's stayed the same for the last, I mean, 8 to 10 years. Like the package really hasn't
Yeah.
changed much. So it's definitely
Yeah.
just been pretty steady.
Which is
it's a
really to the
go
benefit
ahead.
of the teams. Their costs and their investment, has not had to change by redesigning cars. I mean, has your time in the simulator changed from where it was, multiple years ago? Your preparation on side of things,
I
the
think
pressure
we've,
you get from the teams to be prepared, is that any different?
you know, I mean, maybe a little bit because we do have SMT now. We didn't have SMT when I think it was just coming in the Xfinity Series when I was ending in 2019. But the problem in the Xfinity cars is that you don't get to actually look at the throttle and brake. It's really just a
Right.
speed trace around the racetrack. So it's a little bit tough to base everything off that. Like one time at Vegas,
Mhm.
I think the first race, it said I went wide open through 3 and 4, and I was like, there is no way. Like I know I lifted. So it was it's just one of those things where it's like you kind of look at it, but you kind of don't. Um, and I think the simulator also, I think we've gotten that better. We definitely spent a lot of time in the off season trying to get it better and better, just to try and make it more realistic to what we have in real life. But other than those two things, it really hasn't changed a ton.
That's
Mhm.
interesting about the SMT because I feel like it has been a transition for me as well, right? In terms of how you use it, what you extrapolate from it, and for the fans and everyone else listening out there, SMT is basically the data that we're all given. We can see everyone's data, but in the Xfinity Series, the throttle and the brake is not real data. It's just extrapolation from a pedometer that's moving around in there. So the only thing we can really tell is the GPS speed and then the GPS positioning, which is not always even that exact. So I think for the first time in history, by the way, you were a driver that had the data saying you were flat out and you admitted to not being flat out. So that's a new one.
Yeah.
Never happened in racing
I could have
before.
had something on everybody there.
Yeah. You've been like, well, you just look in your crew chief.
I
You're
should
like,
have just
look.
went along with it.
Yeah. You're like, look, guys.
Well, what's
I'm
funny,
flat out.
I could zoom in on that for just a second, because a lot of people saw that at Vegas. What's crazy about it is we do lift just a little bit there in Vegas in 1 and 2 and in 3 and 4 in qualifying. And the reason the SMT thinks that you're running wide open is because the speed loss through that corner is so little. I mean, your top speed at the end of the straightaway is like 192. Your min speed in qualifying is like 180, right?
Yeah, it's a
And
little higher. Yeah, like
or
186.
maybe higher than that. So
Yep.
the computer still thinks that you hardly lifted at all. And that's what Parker and Cole were both saying there, is that It's just using the GPS location and the accelerometer inside the car to gauge, how much brake or it's estimating how much brake and throttle you're using.
That's the word I was looking for, not pitometer, accelerometer. Thank you for correcting me there. Cole, to that point, that qualifying lap at Vegas, I like to say is one of the last real intense qualifying laps in NASCAR because of the low downforce, the way the Xfinity car drives. But talk to me. Fans love the Xfinity Series right now. It's getting its own identity. It's classic stock car racing. You did a lot of next gen races this year. Is it, as a driver, is there an excitement of just when you think about the raw, just driving an Xfinity car? Is that cool to you? Is that fun? Is that what you get out of this series? I know, we've all, the racing's intense, the teams are close, but what is the enjoyment level you have from just driving the Xfinity car, which a lot of drivers seem to talk about saying it's their favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I think so for sure. I mean, it's even when, at the start of the year when I knew I was going to start driving the Xfinity car, it was like, man, I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun racing those things, they can, because the dirty air isn't as bad in them. You can drive the cars more sideways. The tires fall off and they slip and slide around. So there's just more that you can do as a driver. And, there's more that you can, it just puts on better racing because guys are slipping and sliding around. It's not hard to get to somebody's bumper because the dirty air's not as bad. So you're just able to race a lot more with people.
I love that. So I want to, think about go deep into the personality of Cole Custer and your personal life in terms of how vindicating was it to get this championship this year? I think for a lot of people, you were in the Cup Series, you've won a race, then it wasn't going as well as you maybe hoped. You have to take the step back, or even some people say maybe it's a step back or sort of, a chance to go win races, whatever it is, to win a championship. When you crossed the line and had won the championship, what was the emotion of there you go? I know, how vindicating was that?
It was huge. I mean, I think, going into this year, I mean, it was definitely, a little bit of a drop down. And, I think that's how people took it. And I was excited about the opportunity just because I knew we were going to have opportunities to win races. But at the same time, you kind of had to try and prove yourself. It was just one of those years you really had to try and dig deep and try and prove to people what you can do. And just being able to finally cross that line to be a champion that I've never done in the top 3 series is huge. And I think being able to show people that that's on your resume forever, that you can go out there and win championships. So it's just something I've never done before. And I think it's something that definitely lets people think of you in a little bit of different light.
Your dog agrees. I love that.
Yep, she liked that.
What is going Cup racing look like for you? I mean, is that I hate to just go the normal, typical route of asking a question or the question that everybody would ask. Like, okay, you went back to Xfinity and you won a championship, you going Cup racing. But it's more like, I don't know, what is from this perspective now, what does the Cup Series look like to you? Does it look interesting? Does it look fun? I mean, you've driven the next gen, how intense that series is, how much pressure it is. I fully expect you to say, I want to race Cup again. I want to win a championship. So I'm not going to let you off with just saying that. I kind of really, for a young guy who's got the talent and the runway and the ability, has raced Cup. Now you've come back and won an Xfinity championship. You're married. What does that series look like from your perspective right now in that commitment level?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to run Cup, I think that's just where, that's where obviously the best competition in the world is. There's 30 guys out there that can literally go out there and win any given week. So that's definitely where, as a race car driver, I think you want to be. But I think, obviously in the Xfinity Series, it's a lot of fun and compete for wins with a great group of guys and championships. So it's one of those things, it can be hard in racing saying what you really deserve to have, because there's people in go-karts and quarter midgets that could probably have run Cup and been Cup champions, but they don't have the means to go beyond that. Like it's just saying what you deserve in racing is a tough thing. So I think you really just take it one step at a time, and you're waiting for that right opportunity, and you feel like you hope that you have the right timing with the organization and how everything works and the people, and then you just have to be able to problem solve good with your team to make everything better. And I'd love to get that opportunity to try and do that again, because I feel like I could do a lot better job. I feel like my first time in Cup, I was just trying to figure everything out, and then also, I think as a younger guy in the cars, you're struggling a little bit. You just get a little bit lost on what the problems are. So you just, it's hard to fix things. And I think if I went back again, I could be a better lead us in the right direction on which way to go and how to fix things with your team.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. Like, it's interesting you say that. I feel like it's definitely with the next gen. One thing that's a little bit different is it's for a driver looking at Cup opportunities. A positive of the next gen is I think you can win from way deeper in the field than ever before, right? We've seen it with Michael McDowell. We've seen it with Eric Jones. Obviously 2311 is a competitive team, and yeah, their cars are basically like Gibbs cars, but they're still a technical alliance team that in the past, technical alliance teams were always that just half a step below the primary, the key partner. And now it seems like a team of those caliber are just as capable of winning multiple races or, going deep into the playoffs as ever before. So I feel like from a driver's perspective, that's a good thing. But it also maybe makes it a tough thing to gauge, hey, when is the right time to take this opportunity? Because in the past, for a driver that's maybe has a lot of control over their career, or the opportunity of saying, hey, I only want to go to a Cup team if I have a chance at winning a championship. Well, how do you decide that now when you have so many more teams that could really take you there, take you to victory lane? It was a lot more obvious in the past to say, well, you put me in a Hendrick car, you put me in a Stewart-Haas car, I know I'm going to win races. I know I'm going to make the playoffs. That's not a guarantee anymore. And that could, I feel like that could make the decision for an Xfinity driver a little bit tougher to know when is the time right to move yourself up.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure, in some ways, it makes it easier, because if you're racing for a, whatever you want to call it, a B-level team, a B-level team is better than they ever have been in the past.
Yeah.
So you can go out there and you're not going to be running 25th every week. You're going to have chances to run top 10, so it's, you can look at it both ways, I guess, but I think any opportunity you can get in Cup right now is probably a pretty solid one, just because the cars are so equal and everybody's starting to figure that car out. Like you see, I mean, the Rick Ware guys and, the Spire, front row, all these guys, it's all getting closer and closer and closer as we go, just because it's more data and more everybody's figured that car out that little bit better.
Hey, Parker, what did I always say about driving in the Cup Series?
What's that?
Don't ever turn down a chance to race in the Cup Series.
That's true. You have said that.
That's what makes it tough is like, as a driver, if you get that call, I mean, we're going to talk to Carson Hocevar here in a couple minutes. And that's one where it's just like, he's in a position where he got a call. He's got an opportunity to go to the Cup Series. You almost can't turn it down. You have to try it. You have to do it as a young driver, especially at his age, like go do it. It's you may be taking a risk by getting stuck in lesser equipment or not having the success that you had always dreamed of. But man, the risk of passing up an opportunity to race Cup full time is not one that you want to take.
We do have a live chat, Cole. And so I got to ask you some questions from the live chat. One really important one from a guy named, I've never heard this guy, Moonhead. First-time caller. How many beers did Mr. Custer drink in the 48 hours following his championship? Known as Stone Cold, the smashing of beers. How many of those were drank actually. I mean, you even put out a video where you progressively got covered in more and more beer over the minute of that video.
You know, in that video, well, the funny thing about that one is I still had to drive home. So I had to kind of figure out how to not drink it, honestly. So, because I had to drive home still. So not much was drank in that, honestly. But we've definitely, well, the big thing was we went to a bachelor party this past weekend for one of our buddies in New Orleans, and that was an experience. So we got to celebrate my championship, and he actually works for Ross Chastain also. So we kind of got like a double whammy of wins. So it was a big weekend for sure.
Did you bring your checkered flag or anything with you? Did just be like, or your trophy? Hey, I just got this little thing to drink out of.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna risk that in New Orleans. It would have ended up in the gutter, or someone would have bad happened.
That is very true. I think one thing that Landon pointed out here, and I want to point this out, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, and I think it's because I've been around you for so long. You are only 25 years old. Like, I thought you've been racing and winning in the top 3 NASCAR series, which feels like for a while now. You've won a cup race. You're now a champ. I mean, there's a huge, I think when you look at a driver, myself, I'm 33, getting back in the Xfinity Series, but when you look at a driver like yourself who's done multiple years in Cup, gets the chance to go to Xfinity, win a championship, you're still only 25. A lot of people don't ever get to Cup before 25 years old, or even at 25, or even 26, 27. I mean, this, your runway here is immense, and it has to be very, I don't know. I just feel like that has to be a very cool thing, being as young as you are and have accomplished so much already.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely gotten a lot of experience and had a lot of luck of, having the opportunities I have, and just very grateful for that too, but I think that is something that helps me, I think in the future, just because I have done a lot of things now. I've run the trucks, I've run Xfinity, run Cup, gone back to Xfinity, and, had success. And it's just, you learn a lot more. You learn a lot more about the scope of everything, and what goes into it, how to work with people, and how to make things better, I think. And when you're the really young guy, you're just kind of behind the wheel hoping for the best. You're just hoping that the car's fast and everything goes right, where when you're more of a veteran guy, you can have more on a say of how we get things better, so it's definitely I've never been in that situation before this year, so it's cool to be a part of.
Yeah, I got to ask you though, what is your lift point?
Oh, we'll get to that when we get to Daytona. I'll tell you my lift point.
We just get real quick. Landon doesn't even know this one. So back in April, Martinsville, I walked up to you as we were going out to qualify in the line, and I said, "Hey man, what's your lift point into one or whatever?" And you're like, "I'm not telling you." You went on to win the pole, I believe. I think I qualified 21st. Thanks for no help. But ever since that moment, I think I once a week asked you, "What is your lift point?" Even at the road courses. So I just thought I would ask you, what is the lift point one more time in 2023?
But then the first time I cracked too, I think was Homestead maybe. And
yeah,
you went out to practice. I think you were like, I told you like everything where I was lifting. You were second, I think, and I was third or something. I was like, good thing I didn't do this all year.
It finally worked. Thank you. Yeah, no, it actually did help a ton. We were really fast that day and everything. But you went on to lead a bunch of laps. We both hit the wall. I did it from 7th. You did it from 1st. But anyway, man, this has been awesome to have you on here. We really appreciate you coming on the Money Lap Live, being one of our first ever guests, and as a champ. I mean, I can't believe we could get the time with you as a champion of the Xfinity Series. Look forward to racing you next year. But we do have a question of the day I actually just remembered we have to ask you. And that is the trend for this week, obviously, is the Las Vegas GP. That's the big trending topic in motorsports. Who do you believe or will predict finishes second in the Las Vegas GP this weekend?
Man, that's a tough one. I'll go with Leclerc, like what the guy said before. I'll go with him too. I feel like, Ferrari, they need a little something right now, and I think they might get it.
All right. Bam. Wow, he must have been listening to Blake before this in terms of he felt like Ferrari was going to be good as well. So, hey, man, really appreciate you coming on. This has been awesome. And yeah, you are. You're right there. You're one of the experts. So, congratulations on your championship. Enjoy the offseason, buddy. We appreciate it. Hey, if you like this content, then be sure to tune in every Wednesday from now to December 13th from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern to see it live. Also, can you please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon on this video so you're alerted every time we post something just as good. Thank you.